Hello and welcome to She Leads Collective podcast. I'm Mary Gregory and I'm so glad you're here. This podcast is a space for honest conversations about what it really means to lead as a woman today and how we can all show up with more courage, care and clarity. You'll hear from inspiring women, powerful allies and bold truth tellers who are changing the game, not by playing tougher, but by leading smarter, softer and stronger. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the She Leads Collective podcast. And today we're going to be talking about women's health and a women's health issue that doesn't actually get much airtime. We've all been taught to check for lumps and to spot early signs of breast cancer, but how many of us know the early warning signs of ovarian cancer? Well, my guests today are on a mission to change that. I'm joined by two remarkable people whose humour, energy and determination are saving lives by running marathons dressed as giant ovaries. Craig McMurrough and Sarah Fritchley, better known as Mr and Mrs Ovary, are passionate fundraisers for the ovarian cancer charity Ovacome. What began as a tribute to Craig's sister Cheryl, who died just 3 weeks after diagnosis, has grown into a bold national campaign to raise awareness of cancer that's often missed until it's too late. Wearing 6-foot ovary suits, I don't know how they even managed to run in those, but together Craig and Sarah are not only breaking records. Craig ran the London Marathon in a costume and became a world record, a Guinness World Record holder, no less. They're also breaking the silence around cancer that affects thousands of women each year. They've raised tens of thousands of pounds, been recognised by the Pride of Britain Awards and brought joy and crucial knowledge to countless communities across the UK. So let's meet the marvellous duo on a mission. Mr and Mrs Ovary, welcome Craig and Sarah. It's so good to have you here.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello,
Sarah.
Mary.
Hello, Craig. Thank you for giving up your time and coming to talk to me today. I'm so grateful.
No problem. It's
Pleasure.
our pleasure.
So, Craig, let's start with you, shall we? Can you just take us back to when your sister Cheryl first started feeling unwell?
Yeah. So we're going back nearly 9 years. In fact, it is 9 years to this month. Cheryl had a very busy job. She was a speech therapist for the NHS, a youngish mother with 2 young kids, husband, quite a very active life. And in the sort of spring of 2016, she started feeling very fatigued and quite lethargic.
Yes.
She put it down to a busy job. She was still very active, with the kids, long walks and bike rides and that kind of thing, but would often seek some respite at weekends with actually at my parents' place in Warwickshire to kind of escape the challenges of a busy working week and sometimes,
Yes.
obviously challenges with young children. So she did see the GP and was misdiagnosed, it turned out, with fibroids. So there was no immediate panic. Fibroids, many folks go through it and, are okay. But she actually didn't get any better. In fact, quite aggressively got a lot worse. And the very short version is she went into hospital when a medical professional realized that something sinister was going on, and she was tested, and they discovered she had a very advanced stage of ovarian cancer. And she sadly didn't come out of the hospital. And it was only a period of 3 weeks, really, from that sort of fibroids misdiagnosis into her departure. So, yeah, obviously devastated the entire family. My mum and dad never got over it. We lost my dad earlier this year. My mum's got advanced dementia, all of which I'm sure have been triggered by the trauma of losing their daughter. And of course, Cheryl's kids.
Yeah, and how old was she at the time?
43.
Wow.
So a young age, and people younger do get ovarian cancer. Obviously, it's quite indiscriminate.
Yes. I'm so sorry to hear that, and just how quickly it all happened. Sounds so shocking and traumatizing for the whole family.
Yeah.
I also wonder, it could easily be misdiagnosed. I mean, they misdiagnosed of fibroids, but also perimenopause. I'm just thinking as a young woman, I might have thought, oh, maybe it's just my perimenopause. I'm starting to feel lethargic. But this was definitely something more sinister going on
Yeah,
for her.
yeah. And I know we'll talk about some of the early signs and symptoms, but and I for a long time was, kept trying to, find out why the GP in question didn't, uncover this, why we didn't get a second opinion. And yeah, I think because some of those early symptoms were quite subtle, albeit,
Yes,
fatigue is quite a, disabling aspect, isn't it? But
yes,
being aware of these early signs and symptoms is really a mission that Mrs. Ovary now and I are on in terms of educating men
yes,
and women, around the country as much as we
yes,
can.
yes. And how did losing Cheryl change the way you view women's health and the importance of early awareness?
Well, I've been supporting various charities prior to Cheryl's death, actually, British Heart Foundation, Breast Cancer Now. So I was, already kind of in that mindset of supporting other people. I think it's right to give back, and raise funds, particularly. And
Mm,
for me now, this is, it brought a huge amount of coping mechanism around the dealing with the immediate grief of Cheryl's
yes,
loss.
yes,
But this idea of campaigning and spreading awareness and on a, let's say, a mission, the mission of us ovaries to get out there and to educate. And I've
yes.
even in the last few months stood in front. We both have stood in front of audiences, and there are some misconceptions which we'll talk about
Yeah, yeah,
around this cancer. So where we can change attitudes and mindsets and inform is a great thing. And we know, and you already talked out about the runs that we've done, and Sarah's run with me in marathons also. Folks
yes,
have read the symptoms that are on the back of these big ovaries and have told us, wow, I went and sought some advice because I recognized, early presentations of these, and they may follow up with us and say, do you know what?
yes.
It saved our lives. So,
That is
you know,
fantastic. So you're really making, what I hear there is you're honoring Cheryl's memory, but you're also really making a difference to other women and their lives as well.
yeah.
Fantastic.
And by the way, you won't forget seeing two giant ovaries
No,
running in the London Marathon or the Great North Run, Great South Run, wherever we happen to be. You probably won't forget the day you met two giant ovaries
yeah,
in their with their bright pink fallopian
yes,
tubes.
yes, yes. Very difficult to brush that memory
Yeah,
from your
I
memory.
love the Newcastle folk always greet the ovaries
The
with huge
ovaries.
with with huge fun and joy, and it's always a great pleasure to run in that part of the
Why,
world.
that sounds lovely. And I might add to the listener that both Craig and I are from the northeast of England, which is why we're donning our Geordie accents momentarily. But let's come to you now, Sarah, because you had a different experience of cancer, both personally and from with your mother as well. And it wasn't cancer of the ovaries, but it was a warning sign when you had your diagnosis and your mum was diagnosed as well. So tell us a bit more about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, prior to my mum's diagnosis and my own, Craig and I had already struck up this running relationship and already started to run lots of sort of shorter races and then building up to the marathon and so on. But what happened in 2021 was that sadly I lost my mum to a late stage colorectal cancer diagnosis.
Oh gosh.
So this all started in 2019. And despite mum's considerable number of GP visits, presenting their symptoms. And the waters were muddied somewhat by a negative screening. So the poo in the post that we're all familiar with that
Yes.
starts as a screening program, that's not foolproof. There can still be false negatives.
Okay.
So mum was therefore, as a consequence of that, not referred early enough for a colonoscopy. And when she did go for a colonoscopy, unfortunately, it was found quite a late advanced stage. So despite the neoadjuvant chemotherapy and intended surgery, COVID then hit in 2020, and so many factors, basically meant mum wasn't getting the treatment that she should have had, but primarily the early treatment would have been a very, very different outcome.
Yes, yes.
So that was, very difficult period for me. And,
yes.
I continued to run with Craig regarding ovarian cancer. And then in 2022, at the age of 46, I discovered a breast lump. Now, breast cancer doesn't run in my family, but, again, I wanted to immediately have this looked at. So the very next day I went to the GP. 2 days later, I was having a biopsy, and I really pushed for this to be done as quickly as possible, because knowing that if it's a cancer, it needs to be treated as early as possible.
Yes.
So I went through surgery, several surgeries thereafter. Unfortunately, touch wood, I'm
you're now in the clear.
Fine. Yeah,
that is a relief. But what I really hear that I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your mother, but also from learning through her experience, you were able to push for what you needed, and thankfully you've now got the clear for that.
And absolutely, I talk about my diagnosis and mum's diagnosis with everyone, because I think education is absolutely key. And in fact, I've had friends that, if it can happen to you, then, there's this misconception that if you're relatively fit and healthy and young and it's not a familial predisposition, that, oh, it's not going to happen to me. And I think, you have to be aware that, of course, it does.
Yes.
And breast cancer in particular is very prevalent. I mean, ovarian cancer is less prevalent, but it's still one of the most lethal gynecological cancers. 7,000 people are diagnosed in the UK per year. That's not a small number.
Yeah, that is not a small number at all. And I think what I find challenging from having spoken to you both in preparation for this call is that it's a silent killer, that with breast cancer, you can examine your breasts and feel for lumps, but with ovarian cancer, you don't necessarily get that option.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily know what's happening.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no screening program in place in the UK for ovarian cancer. We're all aware of screening programs beyond the age of 50. So we have our mammograms for breast cancer awareness. Also for cervical cancer, we have the smear tests that are done from a very young age. So they're great global screening programs that have saved millions of lives.
Yes.
But for ovarian cancer, unfortunately, the scientific world hasn't detected an appropriate method for screening on a sort of population basis.
Yes.
There is a marker of ovarian cancer called CA125.
Yes.
Which is oftentimes, along with abdominal or pelvic ultrasound, used to diagnose ovarian cancer, but it's not appropriate to be used as a screening program.
Right.
So it's important to be very vigilant of any signs and symptoms.
So speaking of signs and symptoms, then let's move on then, because both of you, when you run and these costumes must weigh a ton. I mean, I'm in awe of you doing a marathon in the first place, let alone wearing a great 18 pounds. 30, oh my 30, goodness. That's about how much weight I need to lose, Craig.
When it's wet, it probably flexes up to about 15, because it's foam based,
right,
these costumes. So of course they absorb the rain if it is rain. So
oh my goodness.
And we're running with buckets as well, that people,
of course, because you're collecting money.
Cash,
you're collecting money as you're going.
We take cards as well, of course, and QR codes, if anybody needs to know that.
So, well, that's handy. You're remarkably resilient to just do those marathons, wearing those costumes, carrying buckets of money as well as you run along. But on the back of your costumes, you have the BEAT, which obviously spells beat, but that stands for the symptoms that people need to be watching out for. So can you explain a bit more about what that means?
Yeah, so B is for bloating. That doesn't come and go. I mean, often we all experience a bit of bloating from time to time, but this bloating would, kind of hang around, if you will. E is eating difficulty, feeling full quickly, on first couple of bites and feeling full. A, any abdominal or pelvic pain that as recurring. And the T in beat is for any changes in toilet habits or urination or indeed bowel habits. So any of those, if they're presenting together, then, get yourself to the GP. Phone Ovacome. They've got a helpline, and they are clearly medically aware, and, that could give you a second opinion. There are, lots of places to reach out to, but that BEAT acronym is really important.
Okay, that was a great explanation, Craig. So let me go on to the next question. Sarah, so why do you think ovarian cancer doesn't get the same airtime or fundraising attention as other female cancers, such as breast cancer?
Well, I actually believe that it's the root reason for that is actually because we can't ask people to examine themselves, because we can say to women, examine your breasts, and because there's a screening program associated with it, and we can tell young women, make sure you go for your cervical screening. We can provide that message. And I think the difficulty with ovarian cancer is that how do we provide a message to tell women to be vigilant when it's what are you being vigilant for, and there's no associated screening program, coupled with the fact it is less common, but nonetheless, it's for that reason in itself. Craig and I believe that we need to therefore push the exposure of ovarian cancer out there into the general populace, because it's not screened for. The net is not there to catch it very easily, and it's entirely treatable, but when caught in a very early stage, through surgery and chemotherapy. So I think really pushing the BEAT acronym, and not just the BEAT acronym, but also really saying to the individual women out there to say, if at first you present with, upon initial presentation to your GP, that's the first step. But don't accept it if it's dismissed. If you're asked to come back in 6 months, or if you don't feel something is right, really be tenacious in pushing for that secondary step of having that diagnostic workup, because CA125 tests and abdominal ultrasounds are pretty, non-invasive, easy tests to do, and it could rule out or demonstrate. So I think it's really important to really advocate for yourself, push for yourself. So, but I think that's the reason why it's not quite so easy to promote, if you like, from a medical perspective.
Yes. So if you notice the bloating, if you notice that you're feeling full quickly, if you're having any abdominal discomfort, and what's the T again? What's the final?
Changes in toilet habits.
Right. Okay. Yes. So if your stools start changing, or
Or
you're getting an upset
changes.
tummy, or you're oh right, of course, urine as well. Yeah. Very, very good. So any of those, keep persisting until you get the tests that you need for diagnosis.
Yes.
And we're also, as our campaign has grown arms and legs, if I may say, or we've expanded our footprint, we are looking to challenge, lobby Parliament. We want to see government and policy change, or changes made, mandatory screening of everything that Sarah just so eloquently been describing. That's got to be the future. That's got to be where we push this. So it's educating the general population, but it's making those changes deep within the the medical policy as well.
Yes. So I mean, I find it remarkable because you've already raised the profile of the cancer already, and Ovacome. I keep calling it Ovacome. It's Ovacome, which is a great way, much better way of phrasing it. Ovacome is the charity, and you have raised the profile already by running in these 6-foot ovary costumes. It's pretty unforgettable. What kind of reactions do you get from people?
We well, they love us in the northeast. I think they look forward to the ovaries coming back every year.
Right, okay.
But it's often smiles, and from young kids to older folk, they can't help but often it brings a smile to people's faces. Sometimes astonishment. What's that coming over the hill kind of moment. And we have had some rather bizarre suggestions. Penguins, I think, pelicans at one point. Easter eggs, all sorts. Which of course we always say you need to have gone to a biology lesson. Sir or madam.
I don't get the penguins. I appreciate maybe the pelicans, and certainly the Easter eggs.
And Craig is persistent in seeking a uterus to join us as the third.
Oh, right.
But we unsuccessfully thus far.
I tried to rope somebody in on every race that we get into, and there's never any takers, sadly. But I would say as well, Mary, not just running events. We tend to coincide if we're going to an event, just say like the Bath Half Marathon, which, typically these events are on Sundays. So
Yes.
Saturday we'll rock up to the town or city in question. With permission, we'll get out in the town centres or city centres, shopping centres,
Yes.
wherever, malls, and give information cards out. So, and it's part of a conversation.
Yes.
And, not only is that really helpful for us in terms of getting cash for the charity, but again, it's reaching that audience. And if we can get into, local press or media coverage, and they've all, the crowds have already heard about, oh yeah, we heard about your ovaries on the radio,
Yes.
or we read it in the newspaper, then there's a crowd that's expecting to see us, and that makes it all the more worthwhile.
Yes.
And it gives us that platform to spread our awareness. And you know what? We have a lot of fun doing it as well, don't we, Mrs. Ovary?
Absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes we comment at the end of a race that our jaws ache more than our legs, because we're smiling and laughing so much. Because the audience and it's a wonderful feeling for the two of us as well, because we get this absolutely fantastic feedback, and so
Amazing.
that spurs us on further and further, and we're always trying to think of new and unusual ways of projecting that message.
Yes. And what do you think has been the most rewarding and surprising part of the journey so far, as well as having aching jaws? That sounds pretty surprising, because I would expect to have aching legs, but aching jaws. What else has been surprising?
Well, I think rewarding you and I kind of referred to this already, but you can't underestimate when I've read on maybe a Facebook post of a marathon group I'm part of, and somebody said, "Oh, you saved my life."
Yeah.
The both of you saved my life. And that, you can't actually ask for more than that.
No.
I went to a doctor, and they don't always elaborate.
Yeah.
Sometimes people do, and say, actually, as I said before, I had these symptoms, and that was just bugging me.
Yes.
And I, kind of had a moment of clarity running in Portsmouth behind you, because nobody likes to be overtaken by two ovaries.
Yes.
And then, I went and got seen, and that's, all of the reason why we do it.
I would agree completely, Craig. That's exactly what I would have said. Even just one person coming to tell us their story and how we could have made that vital difference is just such a great feeling. To the work is done, but we want to continue that, and we want to. We want to be like the posters on the back of toilet doors that tell you, about the signs and symptoms of bowel cancer. We want, we want the same effect with ovarian cancer. We want also to consider, how could schools educate more? So educating from a young age, not just targeting an audience that may have already had those signs and symptoms. So education is key.
And gynecologists who are running alongside us, or nurses, want to have selfies with it during the race. Take a quick video, and there's always you'd love to think that there was opportunities to go and talk to their colleagues, in their appropriate hospitals and that kind of thing. Surprising moment was traveling on a certain railway company, and I can't mention them. And they tried to charge us extra tickets for our two ovaries.
You're kidding.
Can you believe it? Yeah. So, and we said, really? We'd rather run there. Might have been to Bristol, I think, at the time.
Yeah. I hope they withdrew that.
They did. They did.
Yeah. Thank goodness for that. Okay. So some remarkable stories. You are definitely making a difference when you hear people saying, I wouldn't have got checked if I hadn't seen you running in those costumes, and you've saved my life. Incredible. Let's think about, you've touched already a bit on the system that is holding things in place and maybe stopping progress that we need to see happening. Often as women, we are educated and socialized to push through feeling tired and to push through any discomfort that we might have. How do you think we can go about changing that narrative?
Well, I think to the points we've mentioned, really, and that not accepting not feeling good is important. So whether and actually, if it is something that can't be treated easily, as women, we just need to know what we're dealing with, I think. So obviously the first line of action is to rule out anything sinister, which you of course hope to achieve, but also not to feel embarrassed or or feeble or weak to say, I'm not happy to be living my life like this, feeling like I do.
Yes.
So it is that fear. I mean, I know, like you've mentioned, that the menopause and signs and symptoms and feeling fatigue and often are very, very similar. And it's great to hear that there are a lot of action groups now addressing that, saying
Yes.
you should not feel that that's acceptable if it's having an impact on your quality of life. So I think
Yes.
women, for all sorts of reasons, are feeling more empowered to address that and go to their GP. But of course, we're not there yet. I think there's still that dogma of accepting that it's perhaps a part of your life that you just need to push through. But everybody has their tipping point, and I think that's what's important, to establish what's normal for you, and what isn't, and then and just to, as I say, just be tenacious. And just feel brave to, doctors, of course, they do a great job, but they don't know you and how you feel, and your own baseline, and how you're feeling today, and that it's not right. So therefore, let's address this in the best, most expeditious way.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. And when it comes to role models, you're both kind of allies to this cause, to making sure that awareness is raised around cancer of the ovaries. How do you think more allies can play a role in championing women's health more broadly?
I think stay informed, have a perspective, a point of view. Clearly, in both of our cases, we have a personal connection, and that's key drivers for us both. And I think for kind of slightly different reasons, Sarah and I are motivated to challenge the norms of some of the practices out there in GP land and beyond in medical space. I think it's for me. I mean, this has just become part of my persona.
Yes.
Now, okay, not everybody wants to have an alias as Mr. Ovary, but or Mrs. Ovary. But I think attaching oneself to a campaign and helping in whatever way possible. You don't have to be the uterus, but getting on board with something you feel passionate about, and making a difference in whatever novel or creative or way you feel you can.
Yes. And Craig, this is quite a personal question. Do you feel it's helped you with your grief for your sister?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. My father, sadly, he passed away in March.
Yeah.
And he was 83. He couldn't have a conversation about Cheryl.
Yeah.
He couldn't hear her name mentioned without understandably getting upset. He just, we tried grief counselling, etc., but it was too much for him.
Yes.
And every time I put that ovary on, I'm reminded of Cheryl's memory, her legacy. And she, by the way, she was an earth angel. She was so great at her role.
Yes.
Her job as speech therapist, they named a wing in one of the hospitals after her, a treatment center, I should say.
Oh gosh.
She impacted so many young kids' lives.
Yes.
She dealt with kids with autism and speech and language challenges,
Yes.
and she was just phenomenal.
Yes.
So it helped me to deal with it and to plow my energy, which could have gone, all the wrong ways, quite frankly.
Yes.
And I did have a wobble when it first happened.
Yeah.
And I have just had a wobble recently when my dad passed.
Yes.
So I know the stages and the phases I go through.
Yes.
When I'm in grieving.
Yes.
But it really has helped. And as we've said a few times, just that motivation to go out there and, hopefully prevent, or at least go some way to stop this happening to other families, or to, get women on board and aware. That's the driver.
Yes, yes. And how about for you, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I must say my background is in clinical development. So for most of my entire career, I've been part of developing new drugs for various different therapeutic areas. And I have actually worked on a breast cancer study several years ago before my own diagnosis. I would really love the opportunity to get involved with companies that are involved in diagnostic workups as well, because I'm aware of, the fact that prevention and screening is the most powerful tool we have, in the absence of the panacea of treatment for these diseases. So I've got a real sort of scientific interest in all of this as well, but obviously having that firsthand, and with my mum, and we all have friends, of course, who've gone through similar experiences, and I think channeling the energies into doing something like this, what Craig and I really hope is we are a true catalyst to others doing the same. So our message goes out from us, but we hope that by providing that message, there's a catalyst to other people passing on that message and educating accordingly. So it's really does help very much so, because you feel you're just you're turning something negative into something positive, and that has to help.
Yes, very much so, and causing a ripple is what I hear very strongly. To sort of ripple out to other people so they take notice as well.
People use the term legacy, but I think I'll speak for both of us. Sharon, part of our legacy is that we made an impact on society.
Yes.
In some way, we're both pretty successful in business, but actually there's a much broader society angle to this, clearly.
Yes.
And that's so important.
Absolutely. So you've run over 30 races. You've climbed Kilimanjaro. You've met the King and Queen, and you're aiming to raise over £100,000. What is next for you both, as Mr and Mrs Ovary?
We need to go to the pub, Craig, and have a little confab on this. That's how these things start.
I'm going to Australia in August to run the Sydney Marathon.
Oh my word!
We do have the Great North Run and Great South Run coming up. Those are kind of fixed events for us every year.
How do you get your ovary costume on the flight?
It's a really good question, Mary, and it won't be in the aircraft. It'll be in the hold, I should say, in a large, oversized bag.
Yes.
And let's hope it arrives in Sydney when I get off the plane.
Yes.
It's there on the carousel.
Yes.
We run, and in fact, we've run more than 30 races, Mary. It's a number approaching 200.
Oh my goodness!
So it's significant over the years.
Yes.
I think we would like to just ensure we're covering each region of the UK. We've covered off at least 3, maybe 4 different regions now. Southwest, southeast, the northeast, Yorkshire, because that's an important region in its own right.
Yes.
We want to go to the north of Ireland, maybe the south of Ireland. We were due to go to Zurich earlier this year, but we had to put that on hold. So we'll probably go there next year to do the Zurich half marathon. So we're sort of working our way globally, within the British Isles and then globally. Yes.
You can become a global force. That's phenomenal. Well, certainly after you've run Australia, you'll be a global force.
But of course, Craig and I are not getting any younger. So we're wanting to make sure we cover our bases to continue this with other types of exposures. So
very good. So you've got to find different ways of getting the word out.
And we've already sorry, Craig.
Or I'm going to buy some segways. So 2 ovaries on segways.
Oh, that'd be quite funny.
That's quite a look, isn't it?
Have you got Mr and Mrs Ovary Jr.? Are you bringing them through the ranks?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I've got 3 kids, so I'm always trying to get them to do some running, but I'm not sure about that.
We need an academy, don't we, set up? I think that could be part of our legacy. Ovary Training Academy. Yes.
Okay. So finally, if you could leave our listeners with one message, something that they'll remember and maybe act on, what would it be? Let's come to you first, Sarah.
So a single sort of strapline message from me would be, don't hesitate to seek advice and push for the outcome that you want and need.
Yes. Lovely. Thank you, Sarah. And over to you, Craig.
Listen to your body. Remember BEAT. B, bloating. E for eating changes. A for abdominal pain. T for any toilet changes. Remember the BEAT acronym.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much for raising awareness in this conversation on a very, very important topic that may affect many, many people across the country and across the world. You are both incredible. I'm completely in awe of you. Thank you for coming to talk to me today.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
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 And if you've been moved by today's conversation, please consider donating to Ovacome or sharing this episode. You never know who might need to hear it. Ovacome can be contacted at www.ovacome.org.uk, and they also have a support number there, which is 0800 008 7054. That's 0800 008 7054. And if you'd like to follow what Mr and Mrs Ovary are up to, then please do follow Craig and Sarah. They're both quite active on Instagram, so have a look at them there. Thank you so much for listening to the She Leads Collective podcast. If this episode resonated with you, follow the show or share it with a friend and leave a quick review below. Or leave us a comment. Change happens through conversation, so let's keep this one going. Listen out for the next episode and join me as we keep lifting the lid on the stories that matter. Take care and keep leading with heart.